off it. Oh, no, I am. Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. And it is, of course, time for the final word. I know this is normally meant to come to you on a Monday, but I've been very, very busy here, there, and everywhere. So we decided to do it today, on Tuesday. I hope you're all doing well. If you haven't already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, because, like I said, this is an open forum. We have a chat, obviously, about the most recent game, but it also gives you an opportunity to get your comments in and thoughts heard as well. And, of course, the last fixture, which was, unfortunately, a loss down in that there London, 4-3 to Tottenham Hotspur. As I titled the video, it was definitely the good, the bad, and the ugly from Leeds United. Loads of positive, loads of negatives. It is what it is. As Rocco would say, it's Leeds that. Yeah, it's Leeds that. But let's, before we get into it, let's just say hello to everyone. Chris, you're back for your second week running. How are you doing, pal? Are you good?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Back on the Twitterverse, so head's popped already. I've only been on there a few days, but yeah, all good, mate. All good.
If you want to stay mentally well, I'd just recommend coming off it again. It can definitely affect one's mood. Rocco, we missed you last week, but you're back with us this week. How's things, mate? You good?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, it was a shame to miss last week, but yeah, raring to go tonight, of course.
Good man. And Max, how you doing, pal? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. After that roller coaster of a game on Saturday, I'm almost glad of a little break from Leeds now, just so we can actually draw breath for a while.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's going to be. Let's start. Max, are you looking forward to the World Cup, or are you just going to switch off for the full 4 weeks?
I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to take an interest in Aronson Adams and Christensen when I'm not watching England, just to see how they're getting on. But I think I said the other week, if England were to win this, to me personally, it would feel a bit more hollow than if it was in like a footballing country with rich football heritage, like the Brazil World Cup, or even the South Africa World Cup was amazing because of the culture and everything surrounding it, and the vuvuzelas and all the mental stuff that went on with that Jabulani ball that was just flying around everywhere. So that there was like quirky stuff about that one even, but this it just feels a bit hollow. Yeah, especially with those fans of those videos of the paid actors that we were seeing before. I saw them on your Twitter. Yeah,
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Like, it's even more like I know, Chris, you've seen it, so we can chat about it briefly. Obviously, FIFA Uncovered on Netflix. It's even more like alarming because I know you mentioned the South Africa one, and I enjoyed that one as well, Max. But then knowing how that came about and how corrupt that was as well, it's taken the shine off that. I didn't realise it went that far back. Right. Chris, are you looking forward to it? I mean, I don't know if you've seen, I've just tweeted out, there's images of the fans' accommodation. It looks like that fire festival, basically. It's brutal. You should see it.
Yeah, it's rough, innit? 180 quid a night or something for it as well. Not for me. I think I'm quite similar to Max, to be honest. I'm going to keep an eye on probably Team America a little bit for the World Cup, because I'm not going to lie, I'd rather watch the paint dry on my wall than watch England. They're just tragic to watch. So I'll probably keep an eye on the USA, see how the Leeds boys are getting on. But yeah, it's hollow. I'm not a fan of this World Cup at all. So I'm sort of going to stick to my guns and try and not get all consumed by it. But ask me again if England get to like the semi-final.
Yeah. I'd love to be as holier than you, but everyone, you can watch the watch-alongs on the Just Joe Football Show.
Well, I'll be doing them as well, so it's
Go Qatar! That's where I'll be. Rocco, thoughts, mate? Are England going to win it, and are you looking forward to it? You've got a bit of Italian in you, right,
Rocco? I'm sort of 50-50 with Italy and England. I've sort of swayed between them throughout my football supporting career. But yeah, no Italy this time. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like the other guys. I've been completely indifferent to it. I didn't have a clue when England were even playing until earlier today. But you know, it's on during the day. That probably helps. That'll help draw you in a little bit because I work from home. So I'll end up getting drawn in just like, you know, if the snooker or the cricket was on, I suppose. But yeah, we'll see. I'm sure World Cup fever will end up striking.
Yeah, definitely will, especially if England do well as well. We always, we'll get carried away. But that's for another day. Of course, we're here to talk about Leeds' last Premier League game before the World Cup. Of course, it was Tottenham 4, Leeds United 3. Another amazing encounter for the neutral, another end-to-end game. We seem to have carried a lot of... I think that's one of the things I will say, like there was supposed to be continuity with Bielsa. That this is the one continuity in that it's just so mental. It's just so open defensively. Okay, we're not man marking, but we're still easy to cut through like a knife through butter at times. And we're going to start with that, all right? We'll go back to the positives, or shall we do... No, yeah, we'll do a shit sandwich. So we'll start shit, then we'll talk about positives, and then we'll end shit as well. That's a tool that I learned when I was a coach a team manager. Give them a shit sandwich. So yeah, let's talk about the defense because this is hot on everyone's lips. And I said on the watch along, Chris, that I thought Koch and Cooper had an okay game. And everyone battered me for it. And then obviously I watch Match It Day and I see the analysis on Match It Day and the post challenges and whatnot. And I think, okay, maybe I missed the beat with that. But I am quite defensive of Liam Cooper. I feel like I have to be. And I will say to him, in 2 of the goals wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Liam Cooper. That's what I will say in terms of going forward. Like, I have to give him props for that. But defensively... Chris, do we need to rip it up and start again in January if we could?
I think so, mate. I'm very similar to you. I've defended Liam Cooper to the hilt, and I do think he brings good things, but we need better, and not just better than him. We need the first thing. Let's repeat ourselves one more time. We need a left back because then, God bless him, we can move Pascal into left centre back for me, who I think is our best defender at the club. Coops, I'm not one of these who's like Cooper out, sell him. I think he's needed around the club. I still think he's a good club captain. I think we saw the effect of losing personalities like Pablo and Berra and players like that out the dressing room. I think that had an effect. So I wouldn't want Coops gone. I think he's a bench player now, and he's not the only one who's playing in that back four. Robin Koch hasn't overly enthused me recently. But we've got to get in the market and sort that defence out. And for me now, striker, I'd still want a striker, but it's more of a priority to sort this defence out for me now. With these kids coming through, the kids are going to be up and down, aren't they? We know that. Yeah. We've got to accept that, but we've got to sort this defence out because you can't go away from home to Spurs, score 3 goals and come away with nothing. It's sacrilege.
I think actually it was the first time in our Premier League tenure that we'd taken the lead 3 times and not come away with anything, which tells you just how brutal it is. Rocco, it's quite mad because before the season started, the one area that I was most comfortable with was centre back. I'm not talking just this season. I'm talking in the future because I would list it out. I would say Cooper, Llorente, Koch, Strauch. Underneath that, you've then got Hjelde, you've got Creswell. I think we don't need to look at that centre-back area for ages. That was my opinion. Obviously, now the season started, that has changed. Is it the same for you?
I was concerned, to be honest. I mean, it's a funny one because, like, individually, when you list them, you know, I still rated them all. And, you know, all of them have excelled at times. But, you know, I always was going back to that Brighton game. That frightened me, the second last game in the first half, where they just cut us open time and again. Like, they could have been 3 or 4-0 up. And you know, at that point, you're not sure whether it's the tactics or, you know, Jesse's not got his players in and stuff. But, you know, it was the leakiest defence in the league. Well, second leakiest, I think, wasn't it? And, you know, people blame Bielsa for that. I don't particularly think it was. I know, obviously, we took some stuffings, but I don't know. I think there's just a problem there. And maybe all of them would be all right with like a really top level centre-back beside them. But yeah, there's something missing. And I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I've always been a massive Cooper fan, but I think this season probably he has started to wane. And again, whether that's the tactics, like, you know, maybe that's dragging him down, and the fact that they're conceding a lot of goals and not winning a lot of games and they're under pressure, you know, that all plays its own part as well, as we saw at the end of the Bielsa era. So yeah, I do feel like it's an area that has to be looked at now.
Yeah. Max, do you think as well, because we sort of play with a high line, ideally we need centre-backs with pace, I think. I think that's one thing that I look at and think, right, okay, if we a bit more pace, because we're not blessed with the quickest defenders, are we, Matt?
I think it's quite difficult to truly assess how good our central defenders especially actually are, because in that championship promotion season, obviously it's against a different level of opponent, but we were still playing the same style under Bielsa, and against worse attackers, we were doing better at keeping clean sheets and stuff. And so when you look at somebody like Man City, they've got such good central defenders that they can afford to play a system where if they get counter-attacked, they might get caught out at the back a little bit. But Ruben Dias, John Stones, Cancelo especially, they've got unbelievable players in their backline, so they can afford to take that risk. I almost think it's so hard to judge how good our central defenders actually are, especially Robin Koch. I think we've seen Strout can play well there, but I think Robin Koch and Liam Cooper at times at centre-back, they're absolutely killed by the system. The way we talked about it, where when we press, we just leave ourselves massively open for a long ball over the top at the back. And I think any defence struggles with that. If it's happening that many times to you, like it's just again and again and again, it goes over the top of us. And like when we got Robin Koch from Freiburg, he was like tipped as one of the top young German defenders there is. And he was like the next big thing for the German national team in defence. And they had Soyuncu came from Freiburg, Schlotterbeck came from Freiburg that went to Dortmund. And so they've got this track record of producing really good ball-playing defenders. But I think at times we're killing them with the system. We're making it too easy to counter-attack us. And we're giving the opposition players like Harry Kane and Kulusevski and stuff. You can't give that sort of time against any defence, never mind a defence which we've got to be realistic for where we are in the division and even where we want to be. Some of our central defenders, I think they're decent mid-level Premier League players, but I just feel like the system is killing them at times. If you set them up a little bit more pragmatically, which is actually what we were told was going to happen when Marsh came in. We were told we would still have some Gegen pressing and attacking football, but we would be a bit more pragmatic at the back and we'd go zonal. But it's almost as if that was the start of it. And even the start of this season, we hadn't conceded many goals. And now it's just like 2, 3, 4 a game. So I feel like we're killing them. And for me, the priority still needs to be a left back so that we can. So I agree that we could put Pascal in the centre, but I think Robin Koch is not playing great. I concede that, but I just don't think he's been helped by the system that he's playing in.
That's fair. So Andy says it's the system, not the players, which I guess in a sense is what you're saying in a roundabout way. You've mentioned Robin Koch. We did mention it off air just before we came on, because there was a bit of an outcry. Outcry is a bit strong word, but there was a lot of disgruntled Leeds United fans when the German national team got read out for the World Cup, and there was a lot of people in there saying, well, why is Robin Koch not there? But for me, I don't think he's all that. And I know this might upset a few people, but it's just, especially when you consider how vitriolic in my support of Liam Cooper are, and then I'm saying Robin Koch's not all that. But listen, we have our favourites, unfortunately.
But I think there is a difference, though, isn't there, between having... He's a player with a lot of... Even though he's like 25, 26 now, I think, he's still a player with quite a lot of potential if he's given the chance. But I don't think, like, as much as I'm trying to back him and say I don't think it's 100% his fault, his performances this season aren't good enough to get picked for the national team. So, I mean, I didn't even see that there was an outcry for that. But I just thought... I mean, I think I said on my stream that, like, players like him who've missed out, there's a chance that they might go to the next World Cup, so it's not the end of the world for them. But then obviously like Click and stuff won't get to play in another World Cup now. But for Robin Koch, I think he's not ready for a World Cup the way he's playing at the moment. But like I say...
But yeah, just in response to that, Max, and I'll throw this over to Chris, there's a lot that would say that this has probably been Robin Koch's best time in the Leeds United shirt. I think back to last season. I think he played in the DM when Man United spanked us like 6-1 and Paul Pogba got like 4 assists. And and he's been injured a lot. And maybe I'm being overly harsh, but I look at him and I'm not quite sure. And Dean Turley said here, look, Robin Koch's been getting away with murder a little bit. And do you think maybe that's because there is so much like lightning rod towards Liam Cooper that if he's in this lineup, no one else gets it apart from Liam?
That's exactly the reason, mate. Because if I guarantee you now, if it was Pascal playing next to Robin for these last few games, it'd be Robin getting all the flack. You can guarantee it because Pascal is seen by a lot of Leeds fans, some of us included, as the Rolls Royce of what we've got defensively at the minute, and we wouldn't want to poke the blame at him. So it'd be Robin that got it, but because it's Liam Cooper stood next to him, it's just he's. And don't get me wrong, Liam's not been good enough, and I'm sure he'd be the first to hold his hand up and say that, but. Yeah, because he stood there next to Robin Koch. Robin Koch could run on with his boots on the wrong feet and fall into the post and knock himself out, and it'd be Liam's fault. So, it's just the way it is with Leeds United and Liam Cooper, isn't it?
It's so true.
It is, isn't it? Honestly, I mean, for me, in that out of our defensive players, there's 3 who I think we should get rid of to clear the wage bill a little bit. That'd be Llorente, who I just think is awful. Firpo, who is more awful. And for me, I think it's time for Bill to move on as well. Personally, that's just a personal thing.
Have you seen the stuff about drama? Eyes on him from Dortmund and stuff like that. So you maybe think that even though we like Liam Cooper as a person, he seems like a good lad, a good leader. Sometimes you've got to do something like that to keep a young talent like Cody Drama, because he's shown signs of restlessness before, hasn't he? So I kind of agree with you there that he maybe needs to be like, if Rasmus isn't available or the cup games or whatever, then you start to put Drama in and try and keep hold of that asset.
Yeah, 100% agree, mate. I think the pathway we've cleared, we've seen some of the other kids come through, obviously, very recently, who I think we're going to talk about in a bit. So I won't mention names, but I mean, Drama's done nothing to enthuse me in the game time he has had, but neither had Somerville up until a few games ago, and then all of a sudden he's lit the world up. So I do believe that he needs to be behind Rasmus now and get those opportunities when they're available, rather than Luke. And Luke's been a wonderful servant for the club. I'm not digging him out. I just think we've got to evolve and move on.
Yeah. Rocco, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, Leeds United were 3-2 up at the time when Ayling came onto the pitch. I'm not saying Ayling was at fault, but obviously Jesse switched it to a back 5. I think the subs should have been made in the forward areas, first of all, for me personally, and maybe kept the midfield as it was. But do you go along with the lads, obviously, considering with what's going on with Drama? Apparently there's all these clubs after him. Would you say to Luke... I think the thing is, for me, Rocco, everyone who got like Luke, Bamford, I just think they'll see their contracts out. I don't think they'll get a new deal. I don't see anyone coming in to buy them personally.
Probably like Forshaw as well.
Yeah, exactly. But do you agree with him that you'd like to see Drama get given that spot ahead of Luke?
Probably not, to be honest. I think we've got to be a bit careful. We don't really know what Drama's like. We've not really seen him, as you said. Ayling's experience, we are in a relegation battle, and I think we saw last season, I think Struijk as well struggled, in the end of the Bielsa days, he was struggling, and he was a young player that really needed help. And if we've got too many of those, we've already got like the whole squad is inexperienced in terms of Premier League already. Ayling's done it for a couple of years. I feel like Ayling's still got a lot to give, and with that, I feel like we're sort of, Drama's reputation's gone up because his agents come out and said that these clubs are linked with him. Like, we don't even really know that. And to say that he is behind Ayling in the second order. Yeah, he had a good second half of the season at Cardiff. But I think that's so different to playing in the Premier League with Leeds. And to say that 2 managers have not fancied him over, he's not really had a look in for either Bielsa or Marsh. So, yeah, I'm always a bit not pessimistic, but I'm wary of getting carried away with a player until he's shown it. So I'd want to keep Ayling this season for sure.
I do. Yeah, listen, I'm not one I'm not the one to listen to when it comes to our young prospects. I've written many of them off, and they've proved me wrong time and time again. But what I will say on Drama, and whenever I have seen him, like Chris said, I think he's been absolutely woeful. I remember his debut against Arsenal. Martinelli absolutely murdered him, and then he's played a bit after that. And I'm just not sure I believe in the hype. And, you know, there was a lot said about, in my defence of Bielsa, when he wanted to go out on loan, I was like, right, well, if you don't want to be, you can F off. And then I seen when he did well at Cardiff, everyone was like, oh, well, see all those people that wanted to have a go at him, etc., etc. But without knowing the ins and outs, there does seem to be a little bit of an issue there, I think, personally, from what I see, because why is neither manager using him? At least, even with the Somerville stuff, Orton and Marsh, for example, were saying all the right things. We don't hear anything said about Cody. We don't hear any positives coming out. There's nothing like that, like there was with Somerville. So I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if he'll stay at Leeds or whatever. And I think, like's been said, maybe it is a bit of agent talk, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Moving on slightly, it's mad when you consider we've all, you know, Chris touched on it earlier when we're all talking about needing a number 9, and that was the main thing. And then we've got Rodrigo, and we spoke about him the other week, saying, you know, he's doing the business. He's a bit of an enigma for me now at this point. I think I was saying, you know, in the first half against Spurs for like 20-25 minutes, he barely touched the ball, and then like he comes up with these moments. I think both goals were taken fantastically well as well. So, Rocco, what's going on with Rodrigo? Would you be comfortable if Leeds United didn't go out and get a number 9 and left him up top for the rest of the season? Because he's scoring the goals.
I know, it's such a tough one for me. Like probably for like a year or 2 years since we've been talking about buying a striker, I've not really thought that we needed one. I mean, I'd like one, but I just feel like it's so hard. Like, I don't think there's more than a dozen proven Premier League strikers around the world. So, like, to expect us just to go and get one. And also, when you look in the summer, the strikers we were looking at, you know, the lad from France has played one match for Marseille. You know, De Ketelaer's been a disaster. I mean, imagine if we'd have signed him for 40 million and he'd not done it. You know, we'd be in financial trouble as well as relegation trouble. And then, you know, Hwang we were looking at, obviously he's not good enough. Wolves are bottom of the league. I don't think he's scored. So, you know, when you talk about going and getting a striker, you know, these are the realistic options for us, and none of them have been good enough. So, yeah, I mean, Rodrigo's sat there on 9 goals. Like, what can you say? I'm still not convinced by him, and I've never really been his biggest fan. 9 goals, it's good. Like, it's good enough. It's enough to really stop us doubting him. Like, we should probably just get behind him now and hope that he continues it.
That's true, and you've almost got to think of him as our number 9 now, our starting striker, because does Bamford ever get fit again? Like, to a level where he's playing like I think the season when we came up and he scored 17 goals, that's definitely the exception and not the rule, because people were complaining about him before, and because of that season, he seems to have a lot of credit in the bank now, and we're all, me, myself included, was saying, well, he's going to get back to his former self, and the way, because he does affect the team in a positive way when he comes on, but it's not for long enough. He's not fit enough. He's not scoring the goals. His confidence is shot. It's almost like when we looked at Forshaw, we were all crying out for another midfielder because Forshaw was dead on his feet. He was just like, he just could not get fit, and that was 2 years. Bamford, what's it now? He's not scored in over a year. He's not completed in 90 minutes in 18 months. It's almost like we need to sign a striker to compete with Rodrigo. So I feel like it's the same thing, but we were saying we need to sign a striker to compete with Bamford. But I feel like Bamford's now, I can't really see him coming back now to be a goal scoring Premier League striker. I don't know what we do with him.
It's funny, isn't it, with Rodrigo? Because I know, like you said, Joe, and I was watching your watch long when you were like, he's not touched the ball for the first 25 minutes. And before the comments light up, I'm not comparing anyone here and saying that the levels. There's a certain team.
It's coming.
There's a certain team out there who rule the roost most weeks, and their striker doesn't touch the ball for 35 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's got a couple in the bag. I don't care, because Rodrigo's passing is woeful. So stay away from passing the ball, lad. Just get yourself up there, and if he's bagging 1 or 2 a game, I'm good with that. I'll take it. I'm not bothered about him being involved. You know, just stand up the top, just be a pest, and then when the ball drops to you, finish like you did at the weekend, because there were 2 cracking finishes. And I do agree, Max. I think Bamford's done. I don't see him getting fit and I think it's in his head now as well.
Yeah.
I think even if he was fit, I think he doubts himself.
I agree with you.
I was just going to say, if you looked up confidence player in the dictionary, it'd be a picture of Patrick Bamford. Every time people and pundits and stuff talk about confidence player, he is your quintessential confidence player, because when he doesn't score, he just does not score for so long. And then he does, and he starts on a little roll, but I just can't see that happening at any point.
No, definitely not. Someone's just say, comparing Rodrigo and Haaland, get that clipped.
That's why I caveated it.
But there's someone actually backing you. Where is it? I think there's a stats that says per 90 there is only Haaland that scored more than Rodrigo. He's second to Haaland. So I get the comparison. I get what you're saying, bro. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I feel like I have to get off his back now, because, like I say, I think he's scored the most Premier League goals within our squad now as well. I know we've only been here couple of seasons, but look, the finishes as well were both great for me. I think the third one, the tight angle, okay, you might question Lloris, but I think it's a really good finish, and just the wherewithal to get in that position, to get the knockdown from Koch to basically volley it in to make it 2-1, I think it was at the time. So as long as he's right place, right time, then happy days. I am disappointed for Bamford. You know that people that watch this show, I'm a big supporter of his. I do think there's a lot to be said about the mental side of things as well. I think he probably had the world at his feet. He gets an England call up, and then it all just goes tits up for there. He was probably thinking about this World Cup that's starting on the weekend. Do you know what I mean? Because there would have been a chance had he stayed fit. He could have been in there instead of Wilson or whatever. I'm not saying he's anywhere close to him. People will laugh at me now. But go back to his first season, he was right up there. And it's just a shame for him. But I do think, like you say, his time might be done. And I do think maybe Ayling, Bamford, for sure. These lads won't get new deals, I don't think. And I just think they won't be sold, because I don't think anyone will buy them. But they might drop down the division after they have had their time at Leeds United, which is a bit sad, but I have to, like people say, stop being sentimental about this. Go on, I can see you want to talk, Max.
I was just going to say that I just thought then, do you know when we first signed Rodrigo, Bielsa was consistently playing him as like an attacking midfielder, and we were all like, oh, what's he for? Why is he's not an attacking midfielder? When's he ever going to play up front if Bamford's there or whatever? We're all crying out, said, if he's ever going to do well for Leeds, he's going to get a consistent run of games at striker. And we all said that a couple of years ago. And that's kind of what's happening now. He's actually having a season where he's getting consistent games at number 9 up front, and he's scoring the goals. And it's kind of like, we should be happy, but I still feel like there's a lot of his game that is lacking, and coming back into his own half and just booting the ball to Saka and stuff like that. It's like, what are you doing, man? Have you lost your head?
I know. It is mad. It is mad. Let's talk about Somerville. Let's talk about Cree. Rocker, how impressed have you been with it? 4 in 4? To be honest, I'm just putting together my Premier, because it's unlimited transfers in it now on Fantasy, Premier League Fantasy, and I've just put Somerville in because he's only like 4.3. So, how impressed have you been with him, mate? It's I think the way that he takes his goal is exceptional.
He's been a revelation, hasn't he? I think that's his place now. I don't think Harrison's going to oust him. If Sinistera comes back to fitness after the World Cup, then I think they're our wingers. Long may it continue. That first touch to take it away from the defender like he did, and to finish like he did, and his finishing's just been awesome. It's a shame that he missed that one that he poked against Lloris's legs, but you can't complain, can you? He's missed 1 out of 5. Just been awesome. I'm so happy, and it's great to see. And he's one of those youngsters that I wasn't sure about. When he'd come on, he hadn't really done it. But I will say that I did suggest that he might do better if he got 90 minutes, and give him the boost that he needed and bit less pressure to do something every time the ball comes to him. And that's definitely helped. So yeah, Jesse's been taking note of what I've said, obviously.
Yeah, clearly. And definitely not listen to me, as Davidan says, Somerville equals the new Pervader, Joe. I did call him Jan Pervader 2.0. How wrong I was, because like I say, I think 4-4's maybe a record. Or maybe on par with Smith, or was that when it was 3-3? I don't know, but listen, whatever it is, it's amazing. Let's just talk about this guy, actually. Andy D says Harrison is the new Rodrigo. Rocco mentioned him there, so I'll stay with you, Rocco. We spoke about it last week on the midweek fix. Do you think Jack Harrison is maybe surplus to requirements in Jesse's system? Because he does need to play out wide in order to be able to cross balls in. He can't play on the right, and he's being played out there because he wants Somerville or Sinistera to play on the left. Do you think there's a chance, because there's no noise about a new contract either, that he could be a wait in January for some more business to be done?
Yeah, I do, to be honest. And that is the way it's looking. And I mean, I think there could be a spot for him on the left. I think he's done well there. And Jesse does seem to... He likes this lopsided formation, doesn't he? Like it's almost like he likes one wide player and the other tucks in a lot of the time. So he could play there, but on the right, he's just not suited. It's like Alioski under Christensen. Yeah, before Bielsa came, he was played on the right a lot, and some players just aren't suited for it. You know, Harrison's game is getting half a yard and getting the ball in the box. So I do feel like he could be leaving in January. What's he got? 18 months left on the contract.
Yeah, it's not that long, is it, really,
yeah.
to be fair?
It's like decision time, isn't it?
And it's quite interesting, Max, when you consider the start that he had, when Newcastle were linked and we're all going, not a chance, we want 30, we want this, and Leeds United still haven't tied him down. And it's almost what they did with Calvin, and it's very similar to what they did with Rafinha. So do you think in January he makes a move to Newcastle? Because I think Ben Jacobs a couple of weeks ago said Newcastle were still interested.
It's such a difficult one, isn't it? Because like I said last week, we can't just write him off because he's having some bad form, because he scored like 20 odd goals for us over the last couple of seasons and got quite a few assists as well. And he's one of our only players who does actually get his head up and try and put the ball in the box sometimes, which for Rodrigo is actually quite a good header of the ball when he gets the chance. But less said about that, the better. But Jack Harrison on the left, I think, could be a good asset for us. And the issue for me is, if you sell him, you put in more weight on people like Somerville and Nonto's shoulders, and they're so young. And Somerville's playing fantastically well, but there's no guarantee that he keeps it up forever. In fact, it's highly unlikely that he keeps scoring every game and that he keeps playing well every game. He's going to have a period, especially as a young player, where he's going to need to be dropped and somebody else is going to need to come in. So, like, if you start to lose somebody from those attacking positions, you're kind of starting to put more weight on Nonto's shoulders as well. He was just turned 19. I don't know. I think we can afford to go and spend like 10 million, 5 million on a left back without selling him.
Do you not think, though, mate, considering the length of his contract and the fact that we only paid 11 million for him, it would be smart business to sell him for 20 to 25, 30 million?
I don't know if we get that much for him now.
What? But say 20 million. You get that at least. You would get that at least.
But if you got 20 million for him, how are we going to replace his goal contributions?
But if he's not playing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
I understand what you're saying. I do.
He does bring that over the course of a season. He's not going to be this bad for the entire season, surely. Surely he'll come back in at some point and score a couple of goals and assist a couple of goals. And you're kind of thinking, if you don't replace him with another attacking midfielder and you only do a left back or whatever in January, then you're taking his goal contributions out of the team. And like I say, although he hasn't played well this year, last season it was like 11 goals, the season before 10 goals. I don't know. People often say when you take out a player that's given so many goal contributions and they don't replace him, you always see those teams struggle because you just need that. Like, especially because we've not got a striker who's scoring. I know Rodrigo is, but usually we don't have a striker who's scoring loads of goals. So with a team like Leeds, you kind of need goals to come from all over the park, don't you? You need players to get 5 goals here, 7 goals here per season. And I don't know. I think I'll worry for us if we take that out of the team.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And someone else just mentioned Daniel James as well. And let's not forget he actually scored against Manchester United, didn't he, at the weekend, which was nice to see. Just before we move it on, I just want to remind everyone as well, regular sponsors of my show, the Just Joe Football Show, Football Prizes, have actually got a fantastic prize that is soon to come to an end. Actually ends in just under 2 days' time now. It's a Leeds United mega bundle. There are 8 prizes available, all for just one winner. You can get the squad signed and frame shirt, a Gelhardt signed and custom box frame football boot, Jack Harrison shirt, Marsh signed home shirt, Sam Greenwood signed and framed Leeds United montage. You've got an Ilian Melier signed and framed goalkeeper glove, 22-23 Leeds United home or away third shirt, and £25 Leeds United club shop voucher. All for just £3.95. There are 399 tickets. I myself have won from Football Prizes. You can't make it out, but this here is a medal, Leeds United promotion medal, and it's actually signed by Marcelo Bielsa. I'll bring it in nice and close for you. You can see that. There's the man himself. And I won that from Football Prizes. I know quite a lot of you have won stuff as well. That's coming up to an end. We normally do it on the watch-alongs, but we don't have a Leeds United one this week, so I said I would stick it in here for them. Loads of you get involved and check that out. The link is in the description, footballprizes.com. Chris, I'll come back to you. Obviously, we get ourselves into a fantastic position. We're winning the game 3-2. There's still a long way to go. We know that Spurs are very much a second-half team. That's what they've been like. We knew they were going to come. Do you think Jesse aided them by bringing off Mark Rocker and putting 5 at the back and sort of inviting it on for the last 20 or so minutes?
Yeah, I do, mate. I said it in my post-match, and I've not changed my mind. I think he made a mistake there. For me, Rocker was out on his feet. There's no denying it. Rocker can't do 90 minutes. I think we all know that. But there's a sub on the bench ready to step right in his shoes. And I'm not one of these who's like, he's too young to be put in that situation. For me, Darko Gyabi comes on. You keep, because I thought we were doing well in midfield. I thought we were Benton Kerr and Højbjerg had very little of the ball, to be honest with you, or any time on the ball. And we just sunk back to a back 5, left a big hole in the middle and just invited Spurs onto us. And it was pretty much done from that moment on, wasn't it? Because when you're giving those type of players that Spurs have got at the top end of the pitch time on the ball, then you're on the back end of a hiding. So I do, mate. And I try and be level and fair with Jesse. Do you know what I mean? But for me, that's a mistake. It is. And sometimes he's gone to 5 at the back and it's worked as well. So, and we've hung on to it. So, it's about balances. But for me,
it's hard though. It's hard though, isn't it? Because you've got a load of fans who would say, say if they did what you did and it backfired, what you said, and it backfired, everybody would be going, well, why didn't you go 5 at the back and just shut up shop? Do you know what I mean? So it's such a hard situation. I honestly think we got unlucky with that one. It came off Ayling and just deflected the wrong side of Melier. And it was just like, the thing is, you can't, you've took a player off and gone 5 at the back. You can't undo that. And because it went wrong so quickly, it was like, we've absolutely knackered it now. Like, what we're going to do. So, in hindsight, it was a mistake, but
yeah.
I agree, Max. It's a hindsight call, isn't it? Because if we hung on and won 3-2, then everyone's like, that's a wicked substitution.
But that's what they get paid the big bucks for, and we get to criticise them sat in my bedroom. You know what I mean? But Rocco, do you think, because I genuinely think there is a direct correlation with Ayling coming on 79 and then 4 minutes later we're 4-3 down, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I would probably defend Jesse here because, for me, he made the change, but, it was still the same problem. I don't think it changed the match so much. They were always getting in behind us. It was the same type of goal we always concede. getting in behind the fullbacks, like a mistake by each of the centre-backs for each of the goals, poor tackles, and then space on the edge of the box where midfielders haven't tracked the runners. And maybe that was because there was a bigger hole. I don't know whether Greenwood dropped into midfield or what, to be honest, but for me, they were just two typical goals that Spurs were making those chances all afternoon. But what I would say is, Jesse afterwards comes out and says that we had them where we wanted them. We were in perfect control. Well, if that was the case, why has he changed it? I didn't get that. But I don't know. It is a tough one, isn't it? And it is, it's the hindsight thing as well. So I'm always a little bit wary of criticising too much for that sort of thing. But it didn't work. We lost.
Yeah, this is the thing, and it's like, this is why I don't buy people saying it's the system, not the players. I agree the system needs tweaking because we get caught with that extra man over on the other side far too many times because we're too narrow. But for me, it's these players just, they're not good enough at this level and get found out in this type of system, and we're not going to change the system to fit these players. No. So then we need to go and get the players to fit this system, which is what we've done higher up the pitch with Aronson and Tyler Adams and players like that. So now we've got to make the defence work for this system, for me personally. So we're not going to spend out in January, but we should spend in January.
Oh, see, I think we might, but then again, that might be just me trying to look at it.
I think they might do a left back, because even if they want to back Firpo and say that he's the next coming of Roberto Carlos or whatever Victor Orta's got in his head, you've got to at some point think he doesn't stay fit. Like you need somebody else, because
he does not stay fit as well.
He's trash, but it's like he needs. I was comparing him to that Emerson Royale. I think there was a couple of Spurs fans in my chat when I was streaming, and I said, like, what do you think of him? Because at this game, I think he's been awful. I think he's your junior Firpo. And I think, they've got a player like that as well, where he just seems like everything he does goes wrong.
And they actually bought him from Barcelona in the same window, and they paid like Barcelona. They paid this massive money for him as well. So it's just mental.
Firpo, honestly, makes me want Alioski back at left back because he was less of a liability.
Yeah. And when you say it like that, he's less of a liability. It's like, what?
Do you know what's my first point about the system being the issue with the defenders and stuff? I think I also agree with what you've said there to a certain extent, that if we had some like really good defenders in there, it would help. But I do feel like the level of defender required, let's say just at centre back, because at left back anyone will help. But at centre back, I do feel like the level of defender required is not something that's we're in the market for. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's up and coming. Like, so even Diego Carlos that Aston Villa signed, he was tipped like really, really good, solid defender in La Liga. And supposed to be one of La Liga's best defenders over the last couple of seasons. They've signed him, which is a really positive move from them, but he's just got injured and they're knackered again. So they're probably saying the same things that we are, that they're conceding too many goals. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like at this level, everybody's got similar, like, if you were to look at Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, all those teams around us, basically, and you were to look at their centre-backs, would you say that they're better than our centre-backs or much better than our centre-backs?
No, because like Villa, Tyrone Mings.
That's what I'm saying. So I think all these clubs are saying the same.
He is like Cooper. He is like Cooper Mings, very much.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, there's a couple out there for me, but again, I don't know if they'd work the way we play. Like, because there was centre backs moving around for very little money in the summer. Connor Cody, James Tarkowski, players like that. I don't know if they'd have worked.
They wouldn't have suited us, would they, bro? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So again, it's all like, again, hearsay in it.
That's what I'm saying. It's so difficult to know whether that, like, even if we were in the market for that sort of player, is it our priority to spend that much money on that because we need somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net, but then Rodrigo's scoring. So I just don't envy the board's job to say what we're going to spend money on, because at the moment A left back,
left back,
100%. Yeah, a left back, 1,000,000%. We need a left back. But after that, it's like, bloody hell, how much money are you going to spend? Are they going to improve us? It's up in the air.
We should have just give Brighton whatever they wanted for Ben White, really, let's be honest. Like, he was the best centre-back at this football club since the...
Let's go back to when TVs were black and white and we should have paid all the money for Ben White.
I think he would have gone by now from Leeds anyway.
Yeah, but even still, imagine the money we'd have brought him. We could have bought a new defence, you know what I mean?
But in Europe, we could have had Ben White for the first season, might have finished 7th.
That's a very good point as well, actually.
How sad is it seeing Ben White and Calvin Phillips turn up for the England squad together, and you're just like, oh, what could have been?
I love him, me. I still love him, man. I still love him, me. So
so do I. That's why it makes it more sad that I'm like, I wish they were both Leeds players still.
Definitely. Right. Well, okay. Where were we at? There was something I wanted to say, but I forgot now.
About the Spurs game. We didn't talk about Harry Kane's first goal.
Game. Let's do that.
Because for me, that is a joke. It's the worst mistake I've seen from VAR since that Bamford one against Palace in our first season up, where he was about 4 yards onside and was just pointing. That's where I want the ball, and it's offside. Yeah. It's like, what? But this one, off the ball, Richarlison pushes Longley into Meslier, who gets a little flap at the ball, but he's on his back in the net thinking, I've just been assaulted. And the ball's in the back of the net and the left's like, yep, I see nothing wrong with that.
That, Max, is blown up for until a certain England striker puts it in the back of the net. Yeah. And I won't have it heard another way. There is absolute bias to players like Harry Kane in this league. Mm-hmm. There is 100%.
And the top 6 teams.
Yeah, and the top 6 generally.
But the England captain, notoriously, even Alan Shearer and everything, they get away with murder. Yeah. Murder. I can see you nodding your head, Rocco.
I remember when Alan Shearer turned around and booted Neil Lennon in the chest, like just before probably the '98 World Cup, I bet. And nothing happened about it. And also, it's Leeds. Like, I'd love to see the top 5 worst VAR decisions against each club, and there's no way that they would touch how bad the ones on Leeds have been. And which sounds stupid, but if you actually watched them, like that goalkeeper one of the weekend with Meslier, I think 100 out of 100 people would call that a foul. I think if that's allowed in football, there'd be complete mayhem every week. And then you have like the Struijk red card against Liverpool, which wasn't overturned by VAR, which was just the most bizarre thing, of anything, Klopp coming on the pitch and getting him sent off. And, Dan James at Newcastle is probably a step down, but it's still 100% a penalty.
Definitely.
Some of it Brentford.
Yeah. The list goes on, and they're like unfathomably bad decisions. I'm just so sick of being outraged.
It was supposed to take the human error out of it.
Well, this is the thing, and I've seen Ben Foster speaking about it on his YouTube channel, and he said, if you didn't have VAR and the referee misses it, you can accept it, but it's the fact there's actually someone in a room specifically looking for these things.
Replays.
Watch that and said, no foul. I mean, even the guy, is it Dermot Gallagher on Sky, who normally agrees with every single decision, said it's a definite foul. Like, what's going on, man? Because we get something from the game, then, don't we? We get something from the game. It's 3 apiece. It's
I've got a mate who's a Spurs fan, and he said, I totally agree with that one. But Bentancur was fouled in the build-up for Rodrigo's goal. Apparently. But I think when I watched it back at the time, I don't think it's a foul on Bentancur. I think he just dives over the player and
he throws himself sort of over and around Tyler or whoever it was. That's not a foul for me. I mean, there's an argument that Rocker got away with one, isn't there, with the studs up, and it was an amber for me. That's one of those that can go either way.
Yeah, I thought when they sometimes the ball's coming down from a great height and they put their leg up, studs up to bring the ball down, and then Dyer just runs head into him. Because he's a bit of a dunce anyway, Dyer, and I don't think there's much going on between his ears. And I feel like he just goes straight into him.
Boys, before the game started, I put a tweet out and I said, if we were to take something from this game, Like, you'd have to look at it, although we went through an 8-game winless streak, you'd actually have to look at it and say, do you know what? We're doing all right. We end up losing the game. We're now just 2 points off relegation. I know, Rocco, you said earlier, do you think we're deep? We're not deep, that's the wrong word, but do you think at this stage we're in a relegation battle?
Yeah, I think that's unquestionable. Yeah, definitely. I mean, hopefully come March, maybe we won't be, but I do feel like it's just going to, I've said it from the start, actually. I think, probably 10 or even 11, 12 teams could be in the mix, even going into spring, because it is shaping up that tight. And I don't think there's much in it between all the teams. So, I think there's some positive signs. And, we lost on Saturday, but we put up a great fight. It was a brilliant game. I came away from that feeling pretty positive despite the defensive woes. We showed that we can, go on a pitch and outplay Spurs for a lot of it. So, I don't know. My worry still is against the worst teams, because we've not yet proved that we can just go out and beat them, put them to the sword. That's what we need to do. Well, we're not going to get a chance even after Christmas for a while, are we? Because the fixtures are so hard.
We've not got Adams against City, have we? The first game back. And we saw how much we missed him against Fulham, didn't we? And obviously, first game back playing them, we're probably going to lose that game. So.
Right off, bro. We were going to lose it anyway. Let's be honest.
But for me, I personally, I don't think you can be in a relegation battle at this point in the season, having played this many games. I think unless you're rock bottom or in the relegation zone at the moment and you're cut adrift a little bit, I think, like you said, there's so many teams that are close to each other from 8th to 20th. We're all within about 5 or 6 points or whatever. So I don't know. I feel like it still needs a little bit of, when you get later into the season, teams start to break away, and then you can say, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to be a bit positive about.
No, I think there's something in that, bro. Because ultimately, like I say, if we'd have got a point, I'd have been saying good start to the season. We didn't, and I'm going, we're only 2 points off relegation. But that's what it's about. But I think Rocco makes a great point, because it was only a couple of weeks ago I was saying maybe Frank Lampard isn't that bad of a manager, because he was starting to get results. And then now they've gone on a mad winless run in the 17th, and they're getting the shirts thrown at them. So it is that inconsistency. I seen good friend Gary from Talking Short put something on Twitter the other day about just this type of football, and whether or not it's sustainable, or whether or not we can push to the next level. And I do look at it in a sense a lot like the Southampton vibe under Ralph Hasenhüttl, because I remember at one stage they were top of the league. Then they went on a game where they didn't win a game for 11. And then they win a load, and then they lose a load. And I think as Leeds United fans, I said on Twitter, we have to buckle up, because this is what it's going to be like. We didn't win for 8, and then we win 2 on the bounce. And that's enough to keep us up. Then we lose. We might come back from Christmas and not win for 3 games. But one win when you're down there can have a massive...
This is mid-table life, isn't it? Yeah, this is what it's like. And I think we are. It's hard to say we're expecting too much, because you do expect to beat teams like Bournemouth and stuff. But to say that we should be, if we were to beat all the teams that we are saying that we should beat, all the your Villas, your Evertons, your Bournemouth, your Fulhams, all those teams, we'd be in a Europa League spot. I feel like where we are in the league, like Joe said, I think Southampton's the perfect example. I think if we are to keep Marsh, he keeps us in the Premier League year on year, but the ceiling is low, and I feel like it's always outside the top 10, and we basically do what Southampton do, and we just win 2 in a row, then we'll lose 3, then we'll win 1. And, like Joe was saying, basically, and that's kind of where we are. I mean, everybody talks about the Leicester model, and what they did was extraordinary, but it was a complete anomaly and a one-off. There almost is no formula from getting from where we are into those Europe spots without a massive cash investment. Because what Newcastle are doing, Eddie Howe, good manager, but if they hadn't have signed one of the top talents in France in Bruno Guimaraes, and Trippier, some of the other players that they signed, Trippier, who's absolutely brilliant, then they wouldn't be where they are, would they? No, as good as Howe is, that's how he's done it.
I like what you did there. James has put a super chat in. He said there's inconsistency about these defenders when they make some mistakes on Bielsa's. It's the players' fault under Marsh. Same players type of mistakes, but it's the system and Marsh's fault. I think it's been pretty balanced tonight, James. Thank you for your super chat, but that's why I like this show, because it is very, very balanced. You know, not everyone agrees. But I will say I've seen a lot of criticism for Bielsa and his system and how open it was, even from more staunch Bielsa fans. So, yeah, some that were not staunch but said, this system is killing us, you know. So I think, everyone has a narrative. I'm not going to sit here, you know me. I'm pretty, I'm fickle as feck, basically. 1 minute I want him gone, the next minute. Yeah, we all are.
That's football for you. That is just football for you.
Exactly, mate. You know,
especially with things like this, where we're reacting to the life of a football fan week in, week out, where 1 week you can feel absolutely on the floor and the next year absolutely sky high because you've just got Anfield and 1-2-1. And we ride that same roller coaster as every other fan. We just try and put words together to it.
Could you imagine if you just, even if you were completely proved wrong, that you just backed yourself for like forever? If I was still going, Somerville's never done anything that's impressed me in the first team. I'm not happy with him. He shouldn't be started. Like, can you we're going to flip and flap. If we're proved wrong, we'll be like, oh, that's good for Leeds. Like,
I've actually seen as well some Arsenal content creators actually come out and apologise because they all wanted Arteta gone like staunch, get him out. They've had to come out and apologise, and that's sometimes you do get it wrong, right? And you stick your head above the parapet to do content because you enjoy it and you love your football club, and you know people forget sometimes that you're not going to get everything right. Because if you did,
if we were getting everything right, we'd be in the dugout, not
exactly, or on Sky, wouldn't we, alongside like G Nev and that, you know?
Confused like that.
Exactly. Rocco, just to finish, pretty quick fire. Chris mentioned it earlier when he mentioned that he doesn't expect us to do anything in January. Obviously, that's now the next thing on the agenda for Leeds United fans. Yes, we have the Boxing Day fixture, but then like 4 days, it's January 1st. We're like, right, where's the players? Do you think we will do business?
I think we will. I don't think they can get away with not at least signing one player. But it wouldn't surprise me if we don't get anybody, to be honest.
Chris, is the worry that these attackers doing so well in Yonto and Somerville that the club go, we might be all right, you know?
I'm still waiting for Andrea's tweet, to be honest, mate. But I do think we'll sign a left back. I don't think they can get away with not signing a left back. But I think that's probably about the only business we'll do. But I am very pessimistic about this board at the minute. So I'm again, like Max was just saying, I'm happy to be proven wrong and then to spend 100 million and bring a glut of players in. I'm happy to be proven wrong all day long.
Definitely. Just before I come to you, Max, we've had a super chat from Michael Pollard who says Jesse has Marek as his number 2, an experienced backroom team. Where do you think some of the poor decisions are coming from, him or his team? I will put that to you, Max. Who are the poor decisions coming from, brother?
Well, he has the final say, doesn't he? And before he brought in René Maric and before he brought in the rest of his backroom staff, when it was just him, we were still complaining about the system and some of the substitutions he was making. So I think overall, like I say, he's the man in charge. It's his decision. He can be influenced by them, but I mean, you've got to. They have the responsibility as a whole, as a backroom staff team. But at the end of the day, he has the final say, and it's always the manager that gets the brunt of things, isn't it? So it's his decision at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll never forget, right? Like how elating it was at the end. But Brentford away on the last day of the season when they went down to 9 men, and at times we were playing defensive, and I was screaming at the TV, going, "They've got 9 men! What are you doing? Like, why have you done this?" And we sort of like went in our shell, and I'm like, "They've got 9 men!" Like, yeah, some wild decisions at times, wild.
But just before you go on, just what you were saying about January and signing players. We said last January, or actually we said at the end of the season, well, I did it. I said, all I hope is that the board have learned from this, that they can't afford to not do something when they need to, because we didn't bring anyone in January and we suffered for it massively. So for me, they've got to look at this January and think this could go the exact same way that last season did.
Yeah.
If we don't bring in a left back, at least a left back for me, that's the bare minimum, at least a left back.
Remember, Rad says it was impossible we'd get relegated, so maybe we don't need to buy anyone.
This is what I said last week. Why say stuff like that? You're just hanging yourself, aren't you? Honest to God.
Oh, mad. Well, I think we might see a little bit more uptake on shares from the 49ers, so they'll inject a bit more cash with a view to buying us out permanently this summer. That's just my thoughts.
We could also see some players emerge at the World Cup that we might go in for as well. That's always a thing, isn't it? I mean, after Germany did really well, won World Cup or won Euros, then Toni Kroos got his move from Bayern Munich to Real Madrid, and Ozil got a big move.
I mean, Bayern to Real Madrid's not.
I know, but like players have their breakout tournament, don't they? Yes. And they then make big moves.
Should we go back? Should we go back further and say when Klinsmann turned up at Spurs? Want that after an international tournament?
It might have been before I was born.
Elhadj Diouf did well for Senegal and went to Liverpool, didn't he? And that went really well.
Yeah.
What was the other guy? Was it Salif Diao or something as well?
Yeah.
Awful, like really bad. If Leeds do buy someone on the back of a Goodwill Cup, we will get a player that is woeful. Let's just leave.
We'll get. You know what I mean? We'll just get another JKA, won't we? Be like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. We'll I tell you what, right? Qatar on the opening day will do really well, and we'll be straight on the blower saying we'll have him. 15 million. We'll have him. Great. Right, folks, that is the end of the show. Make sure you check out Rocco. I pointed over there, but it's down there on the Leeds, that podcast. The link is in the description to this video. If you want some more of what Rocco's got to give, and a lot of you have enjoyed tonight's show, they have a great podcast that I listen to every week or whenever it is put out. Great bunch of lads, as the Square Ball folks would say. And congratulations to Square Ball, by the way, who won the award at the FSA for Best Fan Content Media, and they beat some well-esteemed companies, so big up to them. And that's just reminded me, I need to say happy 58th birthday to Pat, my friend in Barbados, who's a Leeds fan. I think he's 58. He might not be, but happy 50th something, Pat.
He's going to be gone.
No, it was definitely in the 50s. And happy birthday to my son as well. My son's 4 today, so happy birthday to him as well. Make sure you check out Max at Leeds Lately, and of course Chris over at All Leeds TV as well. Just make sure you don't talk about Bielsa, because they might come for you. All right. I love you, Tash. Right, folks. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you in a bit, and so will these folks. Thank you.